The humid air of East Texas always felt like it was clinging to you. But that night, in the piney woods outside of Tyler, it felt especially heavy. I was crashing at my buddy Elias's new place, a crumbling Victorian farmhouse he'd inherited from a grandfather he barely knew. We spent the evening on the porch, nursing a bottle of rye whiskey and listening to the coyotes howl in the distance. By midnight, the heat and the booze had me nodding off. Go upstairs, Elias muttered, handing me a heavy brass key. The room at the end of the hall. It was my granddad's private study. It's the only room in this dump with a working window unit. I climbed the groaning staircase and locked myself in. The room was freezing, smelling of old paper and peppermint. I didn't even turn on the lights. I just collapsed onto the bed and let the hum of the air conditioner lull me into a deep sleep. I woke up at 3:14 a.m., not to a sound, but to a feeling. The air conditioner had cut out. The room was stifling. In the sudden silence, I heard a faint, rhythmic click hiss, coming from the mahogany desk in the corner. I sat up, squinting through the moonlight. On the desk sat an old-fashioned reel-to-reel tape recorder. The reels were spinning slowly. I assumed Elias had set some vintage timer, or maybe the ancient wiring was just glitching. I walked over to turn it off, but as I reached for the switch, I froze. The tape wasn't playing music. It was playing a recording of me. I heard the sound of the door opening my own footsteps from 3 hours ago. Then, the sound of me dropping my keys on the nightstand. Then, the heavy sigh I made when I hit the mattress. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't a loop. It was playing back my entire night in real time, but with a 15-second delay. I held my breath on the tape. 15 seconds later, I heard myself hold my breath. Then, on the recording, I heard a sound I hadn't made. It was the sound of the heavy oak wardrobe behind me creaking open. I didn't look back. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I grabbed my boots and sprinted out of that room, down the stairs and straight to my car. I found Elias the next morning at a diner in town. I told him about the tape, expecting him to laugh or apologize for a prank. Instead, he just stared into his coffee, his hands shaking. My granddad didn't leave that house to me in his will, Elias whispered. He left a note. It said, "Don't let the silence break." He spent 40 years recording every sound in that house because he was convinced that if the tapes ever caught up to the present moment, something else would finally be allowed to speak. I didn't go back for my luggage. I let Elias keep the keys, and I drove until I hit the Louisiana border without looking in the rearview mirror once.